Hold tight, don't lose your way, chasing for the glory to the end. Don't run, be the one, bring all your dreams to the glorious kingdom. Are you hearing the voice of Seth call your name? Lost in the storm, hold your face and sword. Go fight a secret, I win this war. We rise up higher, reach for the sky, hold on to your weapons with pride. We rise up higher, conquer the ark, get ready to fight for your life. We rise up, climb on, choose the highest ground of the pyramid of life. Let the spirit get you high, 'cause we are the kings, we are the queens. We will rise up to the top. Stand up, don't draw in the dust. The land of the sun knows the answer in your head. Hold tight, it's worth the try, chasing for the glory in the fight. Don't run, you're the one, bring all your dreams to the glorious kingdom. Are you hearing the voice of Seth call your name? Lost in the storm, hold your face and sword. Go fight a secret, I win this war. We rise up higher, reach for the sky, hold on to your weapons with pride. We rise up higher, conquer the ark, get ready to fight for your life. We rise up, climb on, choose the highest ground of the pyramid of life. Let the spirit get you high, 'cause we are the kings, we are the queens. We will rise up to the top. Even when you fall, sticks and stones may break your bones, but you are stronger than the heaviest waves. The earthquake won't shake you, 'cause you are the king, you are the queen, you are the truth of the land. You rise up higher, reach for the sky, hold on to your weapons with pride. You rise up higher, conquer the ark, get ready to fight for your life. You rise up, climb to the highest ground of the pyramid of life. Let the spirit get you high, 'cause you are the king, you are the queen. You will rise up to the top.
What is going on, Governors? Chiskel here with the esteemed Dragothian to cast the Osiris League Grand Finals. I hope that you're hyped. We've got the final two teams that are going to duke it out. 60 GT and PX34. That's Kingdom 1960 in blue from the realm of Bastet, battling against the realm of Anubis champion 1534. And with us again is Dragothian. Hey, my friend, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Chiskel. Thanks for asking. Glad to be here as always.
Nice. You cast last week some pretty impressive matchups here between 94 VN and PX34. PX34 getting a pretty healthy lead in that matchup and securing the win, advancing them to the finals, and a really nail-bitingly close matchup between JST and 60 GT, allowing 60 GT to advance to the finals here. Now, these finals, it's not one and done, right? It's best 2 out of 3. So hopefully we get a full 3 weeks of battling. I don't know, Dragothian, do we get the 4th round? Do we get the final round even if one team wins 2 right away? Do you know?
Yeah, I was asking about that last week to both our contacts and also to the crowd to see if maybe they could crowdfund us an answer, but I have not gotten back that information. I'd imagine we will, because whenever we had the invitational a few years ago or a year ago, it feels like a few years ago, a year ago, even though I think the realm of Horus had won, the realm of Anubis was way behind. We still ended up doing all the matches. So I'm assuming we're going to do all 3. It's on the schedule. And I'm planning for it to be like that. Hopefully these 2 teams, which I think they will be, they'll be battling it out so hard that I think that's probably just going to take care of itself. Both of these teams are very evenly matched. And, like you said before, PX34 defeating 94VN to get here to the finals here, and then 60 GT with an absolute nail biter. I mean, that was to the last seconds trying to get that thing rolling. Provisioning really played a huge part in that, alongside of the structure and the art game, and taking down what was the juggernaut and still is, certainly, the folks from 365 JST. They are, I mean, they could just have easily have been here, Chisco. So this was definitely one of those ones where, it was a toss-up. And, I'm glad to see 60 GT going over that hump. And I'm looking to see these guys nail it out over the course of 3 matches.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting matchup here. You've got 60 GT, the new superpower, formed in part from the migration of some very strong teams smashed together into a kingdom that, man, I mean, they put a lot of really powerful, talented players all together. And PX34, a lot of their players were originally from HKL, who won Osiris League in Season 2, and now they're back in a different kingdom, doing really well, and they've been playing together for a really long time. So I sort of wonder here how much of an advantage there will be to sort of having played for a very long time together versus bringing a whole bunch of really talented players, very strong players together sort of for the first time. That was their last matchup. It was the first time they'd play together, I think, for some of them. So I'm really eager to see how this plays out. And, actually, hold on. Wait a minute.
Yeah, we're ready to go, Chisco.
We're ready to go? I was ready to keep talking.
I'm ready to jump in.
I was ready to talk about super teams, but okay, let's enter, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that after we enter.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and jump into it?
Let's get into this matchup here. All right. In blue, 60 GT. The Vanguard combatants on the screen. Those players all super powerful, but remember, everybody's got the same thing in this game mode. The same troops, the same commanders. The only thing different for the most part is VIP. In red, PX34, that's Kingdom 1534. And at the temple, we check out those key combatants. A nearly 9,000 provision score is kind of crazy. Kill score of 181,000 for Peanut Bunny. And the key combatants for red, kill score of 319,000. Toast with the red eyes. And a provision score of 9,300. Honestly, pretty close for both sides. The road to the championship for 60 GT. Beating Watch It Burn, Raze, and the Vietnam Elite team. And for the folks in red, having beat the Vietnam Warriors, Vietnam Victory, Phoenix Ash, twice in a row. Whew. Okay. Here we are, 44 seconds. Dragothian. There's no Pakal in here, right? Is there
That's
Pakal?
another question I had. I didn't know. I didn't know if they were going to add them to the mix. I don't think so. But we're going to see very quickly if they do. Having saw these guys both fight last week in their respective matches, I'm looking to see 60 GT really come out strong here. PX34 had kind of an easier match. Not to say 94VN was a bad team, because they were obviously the winners of the realm of Sobek, but just had an easier match. So looking forward to seeing if they can go ahead and take that and run with it, or if 60 GT comes out having had one of the hardest matches they will ever likely to have seen against JST, rolling on that too. So we'll see. Everybody's out. Chisco. Let's go ahead and take a peek at the map and let's see where everybody starts to go.
Here we go. We've got some Outpost rallies at the start. This is really important to mention because conventionally you'll see 8 rallies at the start, 4 from each side, hitting the obelisks, defensive rallies and offensive rallies, to try to put a little bit of pressure onto them, keep them honest, and also to get a large force into your own obelisk. But these Outpost rallies being launched by PX34 are interesting because that means that they can apply pressure downfield and force the team in blue to either have to defend or they can break those rallies and be disruptive in the back. The thing that's always been a bit of a disadvantage here is that the Outpost has a capacity of 500,000, so if you rally this thing, you have to commit at least 2 marches for the rally to launch, but one of those marches is going to be relatively small. Feels like a bit of a, I don't know, it feels like a bit of a bummer to send a fraction of a march downfield, right?
Yeah, and I will say that this has started to become part of the new meta, and it's not so much just for harass. And like I know the early game, a lot of folks tried to do this as part of their strategy, and they were doing it at the beginning to kind of get some more troops downfield, and they were doing it to do a quick early harass to see if they can grab that first occupy or something like that. But a lot of teams now are really committing the whole match to not only rallying 1 or 2 of these outposts, but to rally all 3 in conjunction with having somebody behind to kill provisioners and try and keep those outposts from generating points. Because I think we've identified, in the few years that we've done this with you all on the chat here, these structures do generate points. It's 30 points per. But if you can really keep these things, all 3, from doing some point generation for these alliances, that's really powerful. That's actually the second, if you combine all 3 outposts, that's the second most point generating set of structures in the game. So if you can do that, that's a big deal. That's a lot bigger deal than it may seem when you're just looking at an outpost and seeing 30 points per minute.
Yeah. Team in red, slightly faster to get all their outposts. Player probably not realizing they could have tagged the outpost of Isset along the way. Small amount of points here and there, the margins. Doubt that'll be the difference maker in this game, although if it is, that would be quite the matchup that we'd be watching. Mm-hmm. So now the question becomes, where is the aggression, Dragothian? We know there's some potential hits on these outposts, and okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But are we going to see this sort of conventional inside lane pressure on altars that you see at the start of the match?
Well, by judging by all the lines that I'm seeing, I'm thinking we're going to see a lot of the same. And again, 750 points, you just can't. It's too juicy to not go after.
Yeah,
I see both teams really going heavily for it. A lot of rallies coming in for the red team and the blue team. Same thing. A lot of marches with rallies going to each side. 1 for defense, 1 for aggression. And I do see a lot of Jadwigas popping inside of some of these outposts too for the blue team. So looking to see how those play out against these rallies. We have an XY looking like Chandra, XY Chandra. So
ton of Jadwiga on the field. You know what's really interesting about this, Dragothian, is that there's no equipment in the grand finals. So you can bring, whatever commanders you want. You don't have to worry about not having equipment on something because you put it somewhere else. So there's a ton of Jadwigas running down the field, and why the heck not, right? If you're trying to move fast down the field and have someone who could potentially serve as a captain. I mean,
makes total sense.
Some amount of Jadwigas seems pretty reasonable. Look at these guys. Are they just going to pass by each other? What an interesting strategy. I wonder where 60 GT and blue is headed. Are they going to go just try to tag the Shrine of War, skip all the fun, and jump right to it? We see the fighting starting to unfold now by the Desert Altar, which we would expect to see. This is the building you want to pressure if you're attacking.
That's exactly what they want to do on the top lane of the Shrine of War for the PX34 side. 60 GT is hardlining a Jadwiga right beside that Shrine of War with people coming from the middle and only a few coming from the top, but just enough to keep it. If they're able to grab this, they're going to pop that Jadwiga in there and they're going to try and hold that. And that could be a huge loss for PX34, not only from a buff standpoint, but also from a point standpoint at the very beginning with 10 seconds left. Can't wait to see who goes ahead and grabs all these structures.
I love that play.
That's a huge
I
play.
love
That's
that
different.
play. Just run right past everybody and try to take the structure. And try to take the structure.
Yep.
And if they're not careful, it's going to happen. No,
Everything's
denied.
red.
Wow, good defensive play there. That could have gotten really sketchy really fast. And it does look like, hold the phone, up top, the folks in red did capture the desert altar. I don't see their captain in there yet, though. So they're getting swarmed like crazy. I don't think Takeda's the answer. There's the Jadwiga.
Yep.
Might be too little too late. I do think that the presence from 60GT around this altar was really impressive. When we compared and kind of glanced at the two altars here, it seemed like they had a stronger control of that situation, and boom, there it is. And we see down here, it's fortunate for PX34 that they got into this altar first, because if they didn't, I mean, you see all this fighting is right on top of the altar. I feel like it could just as easily have been 60GT inside of this altar, having the advantage position.
Yeah, relatively equal numbers on that bottom lane. They did finally take back their Shrine of Life from 60GT. 60GT grabbing that initial color change, but not the initial capture. So it looks like everything's going to kind of even out, I think. Looking at both of these altars, there's obviously still fighting going on at both, but I think both respective alliances that are supposed to own those structures are starting to clear out the extras. Albeit 60GT does have a little bit more of a harsher presence on that bottom lane desert altar than did PX34. I don't know if that's going to spell what we're looking to possibly get a preview for in the middle Chiscool. I'm wondering if that open field fight, with the strength of both sides being very prevalent, is going to be very, very crucial for both teams needing to get this.
Yeah, with the field mostly even from a structure standpoint, the question becomes, who's going to get the arc? No play really panned out for structures here, right? Yeah. It's an even board. Both teams made plays to get a structure from the opposing team, and neither was truly successful in holding it for those initial capture points. There's certainly some good aggression we see around the map here. A little bit of pressure on the Shrine of Life, but even if they take this, it's just the Shrine of Life, right? This is not a game changer. Barely any structure at all is blinking Dragothian. I think we've got a huge arc brawl brewing here, right?
Yeah, I do too. I mean, PX34 is already in the middle heavily. 60GT a little behind. Last week, that was the opposite. 60GT was the ones up front and center a lot more quickly than their opponent's JST, although JST did position differently than what 60GT is doing right now. So a little bit of a change from last week. But I will say also, looking at the rallies, PX34 is going after both altars, one on each side, top and bottom lane, whereas 60GT is only going after the structures on the bottom lane. They're not going after them on the top lane. So I wonder if that's going to be part of the strategy, or if that's intentional. It's interesting to think about. We have people there to do a little bit of garrisoning and reinforcing, but looking in the middle, I mean, I think that's going to be the next obviously thing here. We got just under 4 minutes left. PX34 absolutely pouring troops into the middle and trying to get that JST positioning that we saw last week right in front of the temple. 60GT looks a little behind, but I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem as long as PX34 doesn't push.
Hey, Drago, what do you think about these teams using Jadwiga garrisons basically everywhere? Why not Xeno?
Yeah, it's a good question. Because again, the heal. I mean, the heal, you want longevity in your garrisons. I will say, I think Jadwiga is a little bit tankier against maybe some of the swarming that's happening in Arc versus maybe a Zenobia. That might have something to do with it. But
I mean, I would have expected
YSS.
some Xenos, but maybe what they're thinking is just that it's all about the march speed, right? If everybody can just bring calves and everybody can bring any march they want, including anybody can decide to have put talents for Garrison on their Jadwiga, and why wouldn't you, right?
Yeah.
With infinite cav Garrison captain options, I suppose it makes a lot of sense. Quicker to get there and fill and swap the captain if the original captain gets low, right?
And I can tell you from personal experience, Zenobia is so slow, so slow. So yeah, I
And
can get
without
behind that.
equipment to speed her up either,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
That
exactly.
that legendary infantry set, if you were so lucky and decided to use it, would give you a 10% march speed boost, which is pretty nice. I mean, it's a little something.
So Chisco, just to give you some insight, this is deja vu from last week.
Yeah.
PX34 is exactly where JST was, and 60 GT is exactly where 60 GT is. And 60 GT absolutely dominated the middle last week. Absolutely dominated.
Wow.
PX34, I wonder if they'll use the same strategy as far as pulling back a little bit like JST did every single time. It's looking relatively even now in the middle with more coming from 60 GT now. 60 GT actually, I think, having a lot more than PX34 in the middle. Here we go. Bogged down, the negative defense buff being
Interesting
used.
choice.
Yeah.
They had the points for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, one thing we didn't really talk about was the hard push stuff. I didn't really see much of that flashing across the
They
screen.
didn't use hard push, and that enabled them to use bog down, which seems really good. I question the placement of that bog down. It seemed like it, and it's already over. I don't know.
I think that might have been more for the reinforcements coming in to try and slow the because you see another 15 marches coming in from behind, maybe to slow them coming in, along with giving them that negative defense debuff on the front line.
Look at the marches they've chosen to use, by the way. If you're wondering what the meta is in Rise of Kingdoms, we can kind of trust that these players have spent the time to figure it out.
AoE
Guan
everything.
primaries, Artemisia primaries, XY primaries, Cyrus, Ethelfled. Free to play friendly with the Ethelfled there.
Lots of Guans. But
But
as you can
this
see,
is
60
one-sided,
GT,
my friend.
Yeah, big time. I think they just had way more people and more reinforcements coming in.
Look
than
at that.
PX34.
I mean, that is utter
That's
domination of a temple brawl. I mean, a lot of marches still nearly full health.
Oh yeah, they can transition this. I'm looking to not only see them get the arc here, but I'm looking to see them transition this into a solid structure aggression on the inside lanes there.
Just absolute and complete domination of the center brawl. Right? Like, when you have what it looks like, now it's a little bit different, but there were almost like half the marches still with white health bars. Like, oh my God, that's a really commanding center brawl.
You still got one player coming in for PX34 with their Artemisia, and I'm not sure if that's going to be worthwhile. I think that Artemisia is going to be going back pretty quickly. Dodge.
I mean,
there it goes.
The thing I'm confused by is that it looks like PX34 made a play for altars and failed on both altars.
Yep.
So they undercommitted to middle and they undercommitted to taking both altars, which is really problematic. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at the map, right, it's even Stevens, right? And the score is even for the most part, 100 point difference. Arcs will win you that.
What do you think about this Takeda primary arc carrier? Like, they could pick any commander they wanted. Takeda primary.
It's not bad because it's relatively basically a double C. The problem is some of the things that trigger march speed for Takeda on the skills are battle based. So maybe they were anticipating on having this Takeda get hit. I think,
and then get some extra march speed. Is that what that's about?
Yeah, to me, the fastest arc carrier would be double C XY. That's my thought on it, but I might be wrong. I think that's
it's an interesting idea. Because the XY gets faster when he gets hit, right? And as long as you're not using active skill cycles, which you wouldn't be when you're carrying. Exactly. Yeah, you'd really hoof it. No, that's a cool idea, Dragothian.
Sometimes I have them.
Well, on the topic of cool ideas, PX34 rally is on the way. It's archers with a Osiris primary. Kingdom 2 kind of pioneered that Osiris primary strategy. How are you feeling these days about the Osiris Nebu rally? And P.S. it looks like Pakal's not in the mix here. or they're choosing not to use them.
Yeah,
Both
exactly.
sides have landed on Cyrus primary for rallies. What?
It's not bad at all. Because of the swarming that's happening, all the AoE damage. If you can keep it full, it's devastating, and that's going to be the problem, is keeping the rally full if it's getting swarmed. But if it does get swarmed and you can keep that thing full, that Cyrus Nebu rally is a devastating combination, especially if you don't care about severely wounded and you just want to get stuff dead.
Yeah.
All that skill damage is really good. One thing I will point out as well on the rally list here, PX34 using taxi rallies by rallying 60 GT cities down south and trying to break it on this Shrine of War, or to try and maybe get around that obelisk down there too, and possibly capture that arc on that building as well. They're not giving up on this arc at all. PX34 still pushing, although this rally and swarm against this Jadwiga is not looking very solid.
No, maybe that's why they're using Jadwiga, is to counter the archer rally with cavalry.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too.
Huh. Okay.
Because I mean, you don't see infantry rallies unless again if there was Pakal. So I mean, Jadwiga technically is the better choice if you want to go against troop versus troop.
Yeah,
Makes
if
a
you
lot of sense.
expect they're going to rally archers. Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
So again, looking at this, the arc coming towards the southern obelisk here, 460 GT, obviously well in hand. However, again, we've got, let me see where the rally's at. Oh, they canceled the rallies. They canceled them already.
I mean, that seems like sort of a Hail Mary play.
That was a Hail Mary play for sure. But it was,
I think that
gonna
arc
be
is
fun to
long
watch.
gone. Now the question is, will they capture it or will they hold it?
I mean, I don't know if they think they were as devastating as they were, and I guess they do. So whenever somebody captures an arc like that, that tells me one thing. That means they know, or they feel like they can just dominate the middle and capture every arc.
That's aggressive.
Exactly.
Right? They just capped that the second they got there. They were like, yup, just dunk that thing in and let's do it again.
We're upset they didn't go to the Outpost. Closer,
oh, man.
You know?
Yeah.
That Shrine of War was contested. That was the only problem.
That's some confidence right there, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if it goes the way it did last time, that's well warranted confidence. But I don't know if PX34 necessarily, put their all into that middle. I saw them last week in the middle, and it wasn't even close to that. So
no, they were totally in multiple places, which look, historically, that strategy was really good for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they were able to capture arcs and take buildings and win one way or the other every single time, it seemed like, historically as HKL. And so I think the fact that they're kind of rerunning some of those plays makes a ton of sense, but it's not working.
Yeah, it's really not. I mean, I'm looking at these buildings and I just see a few marches hitting them all over the place. Everything is still even, although I will say 60 GT actually took the Sky Altar on the top lane away from PX34, which is a disaster for them, because not only are they losing all those points, but it's well defended. It's got a YSS in there already, YSS Theo. Not the best, but definitely a great Garrison combination, especially if you just need to throw as many troops in there regardless of whatever troop type they are. And 60 GT has the field. So, I mean, that's probably going to start ticking some points for the blue team. Red team concerning themselves with the Outposts on the backside of 60 GT instead. And they're going to need to do a lot more damage than one Outpost to counteract the Sky Altar and Arc capture for 60 GT and the blue team. This could be the beginning of an unraveling or the beginning of a comeback. I'm not calling it a comeback.
Yeah. This is definitely concerning for the folks in red. I mean,
both outside lanes taken.
Yeah. They lost the arc, and now they're losing their structures, and that is not where you want to be.
And by the way, they do have hard push. This was a 1-minute capture.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, again, here we go. PX34 taking the Desert Altar on the top lane as well. So now it's knotted up back even, at least for a little bit, until this top structure for 60 GT starts to tick some points because it was captured earlier. But PX34 now has the field by the Desert Altar of 60 GT on the top lane. And with 5 minutes left until this arc spawns, this could be a good timing push. They're already bringing their marches to the front where the cities are at, likely to either or capture the rally coming from that direction or zero their marches on those cities so that they can get their marches back and start heading towards the middle.
They found a Zenobia, weirdly enough. And just as quickly as the Zenobia hit the field, the Zenobia is retreating. Interesting.
Man, this topic is looking so good.
So PX34 at least swapping altars, making up for the fact that they've lost their own. Missed opportunity a little bit there to, have 3 altars for a time to start to make up the difference of that arc. The thing is that you really have to hold the altars for a long time to make up the point difference of losing the arc,
Yeah, you do. I mean, it's the benefits of 60 GT are really good right now. They've not only got the structure game working solid, now having 3 altars, by the way, taking another altar away from PX34, but also getting that first arc, even though it's the lowest point arc, it's still an advantage. And early, when you have that advantage, you can start to really execute your game plan and not necessarily be reactionary. You can be a little more proactive. You can be a little more risk-taking. And it opens you up to a whole set of new plans that you might not have been able to do if you were behind by, say, almost 4,000 points like PX34 is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're really seeing, it feels early to say it, but it feels like we're really seeing 60 GT domination here.
Oh, they're definitely making their presence felt across the map. I will say everything blue is blinking right now, so PX34 is on an all-out offensive.
Drago.
Yeah.
All 4 altars. I know there's 3 minutes till Temple, but all 4 altars?
That's a good time to have all 4 altars, too. 3.5 minutes until the arc spawns.
Wow. I mean, that is just a complete catastrophe for PX34. If they don't get this arc, they are sunk. They have to get this arc.
They definitely need the arc, and they definitely need to get their buildings back. I mean, both sides have heavy blue dominance, and then the bottom side obviously having everything but the obelisk in blue. Now, the Shrine of Life is blinking. Looks like that may go down. It will go down, definitely. There it goes. So PX34 starting to grab their stuff back, but again, this is exactly what 60 GT wants to see. They want to see PX34 focusing on getting their structures back and not pouring everything in. But luckily for PX34, they already did put stuff in the middle. Same thing, though. I mean, if I was PX34, I almost wouldn't do that. I mean, this is exactly what we saw last week with JST and exactly what we saw last arc spawn. PX34 in the front of the temple, sitting there waiting to get crashed into by 60 GT and then just getting wiped. It's the same thing every single time. It's deja vu.
Yeah, I mean, I think we may be looking at the new arc superpower here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is
intimidating,
to say the least.
Realm, so. That's just great for me.
Oof. Oh, are they in your realm, Dragothian?
They're in my realm. Yep, they're in my realm. That. Good old bastard.
Good luck with
realm.
that, Dragothian.
Yeah. Getting a little scared already, and the season 4 isn't even over yet. Okay, so we got 60 GT pushing in, PX34 sitting there. They're not pulling back like JST did, which is I think the right move. Waiting for the buffs. Here we go. Buffs for PX34. War drums. Let's see if to the death.
To the death. 60 GT to the death. That's the one.
My arc.
Now wait a minute. But did PX34 match it, or are they just going to eat that damage?
War drums. That's it.
No. Dragothian, no.
Well, no. 6,000 point, 5,000 point game, 5,200 points. There go all the red marches. I mean,
no, they didn't match the to the death.
They didn't do it.
Dragothian, no.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Be?
I mean, they're aggressing on the other structures. I will say that. So top lane Desert Altar a little bit. I mean,
they got their altars back. That's nice.
Yeah, that's a thing. But so is 60 GT. 60 GT re-rallying the Shrine of Life at the bottom lane. And they've consistently been taking these outside lane structures. 60 GT has made that their strategy.
Dude, the middle is a wrap. It's wrapped up.
Let me zoom out.
60 GT's got this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's looking pretty good for the blue team there.
With the majority of the marches still with white health bars.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see the exact same thing. They're gonna wrap the middle, grab the arc, and then pour to the outside and grab at least one, if not two, of the other structures. I see a Moctezuma Trajan army on the field from PX34. Paranoia.
Where?
He just died. Penny Paranoia going. What was it? A Penny Poo, maybe? Yeah. Anyway, Moctezuma Trajan on the field, people.
I have to say, if these guys aren't using Moctezuma, then it's certainly not meta, right? Because they have access to everything. They can do whatever they want.
They do. The peacekeeping commander coming in hot.
Yeah, hey. Sometimes you got to make peace, not war.
Yeah, yeah. This is not
probably
that time.
not in an arc match, though. That's probably not the place for that.
War. This is all about destroying your opponents and the competition. And yeah, there goes SM again with another arc rolling off with his Takeda into the sunset. And 60 GT absolutely dominant in the middle once again, and coming over to effectively take back their altar, because again they did take that desert altar on the top lane. There was just enough there to take it. So good job to PX34 for disrupting those points. But again, this is going to be 2 arcs down, and obviously if they're doing exactly what they did last time, they're just going to go ahead and cap it, like they did the last time, and there'll be a 3rd and a 4th and maybe a 5th.
They just keep running this thing.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, they're just grinding points.
And, I was looking at this match when looking to maybe do some betting this week, because that's obviously a big part of this system is we have Osiris League bets, and now we have the Grand Finals bets. And that's usually a pretty big part of what I do on my channel. And I know that you do a big part of it too there, Chiskel. So this week I couldn't decide, because I knew 60 GT got better. 60 GT was already good, but before that migration, they were good, but they weren't extra worldly. Now with that migration of the solid, Kingdom 2 UCS Osiris League pieces to incorporate into the puzzle of 60 GT, oh my!
Didn't they get some OV players too?
I think maybe a couple of them went over there as well. I don't know if it was as many though as maybe the UCS team, but still maybe a couple. But I mean, the combination of all these folks playing together, knowing this system so well, really devastating on the field. I mean, again, just last week beating JST in the final seconds, they were winning, and then they were losing towards the end, and then at the very end, for the last minute or two, ended up winning with the structure game that they were able to pull out in the last few minutes and provisioning on top of it. Just devastating middle game as well. I mean, it was just a great match to watch. And with this one here, I mean, again, 60 GT is really just taking those outside structures at will. And that's all they're focusing on until it's time to push the middle. And that's when they start focusing on all 4 altars as well. So it's just, they're all over the place. You never know where they're going to be. And that's part of their strategy, I'm sure. But also part of it is just knowing this game so well, knowing this game mode so well, and having the players that are experienced. I didn't want to bet. Point of the story, I didn't want to bet this week because I didn't know who was going to show up from PX34. Was it going to be the original HKL team that won Season 2? Or is it going to be a rehashed HKL team that doesn't quite have the same amount of experience that the original did? And I think we're seeing it right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. Man, that's crazy. I mean, oh, gosh. It's just... These arc brawls are just so one-sided.
Yeah, very. And I think it's a numbers thing. I mean,
I think I think numbers has to do with it for sure.
Like, where is everybody at for the red team?
They're making a weird choice to do neither task particularly well. They're neither dominating the middle nor dominating the structures. And I just think that's a really poor choice to make in this game mode and in this context of the grand finals.
All right, so the arc carrier is at the obelisk. I will say that PX34 did take the desert altar on the top lane. Hard push being used by 60 GT as well. On top of that, and the sky altar does have heavy presence from PX34, reinforcing from the top here over to the bottom lane for the sky altar here against 60 GT. If they can swing again, all 4 altars and possibly keep these things and maybe grab us an arc or two, then we're starting to talk some serious points. But they need to keep everything, and they need to take 1 arc away from 60 GT. And so far, they've basically made that a pointless endeavor. Although it's not capped anymore. They're not capping it as quickly as they did last time.
Well,
Here comes a hero double C, by the way, from the top over to the arc carrier.
let's talk about how PX34 could win from this position, right? How would they win? What would they have to do? They would have to hold at least 1 altar of the opposing side for the remainder of the match, right?
Mm-hmm.
And hold their own altars, which they just lost their altar, and get an arc. And maybe then they could catch up? Is that a fair statement?
I think all those things would have to happen, and we just saw that they just lost both of their altars. They just lost both of their altars. So I mean, that would be a great
their home altars?
utopic world. To live
Maybe
in.
Zenobia would have been a better choice. Like, I don't know, man.
No, I don't think it's the Garrison. I don't think it's I don't think it's anything in one particular thing that PX34 is lacking from a commander standpoint. I mean, obviously everybody has the same stuff, right? So it's not necessarily that. I think it's more to do with just 60 GT knowing where they're at in this match, being able to do what they want where they want it. And again, I think fighting JST last week and winning really gave these guys a huge, not that they weren't already, full of themselves, I'm sure, because they're awesome players, but beating JST really gave them another huge shot in the arm of confidence and thinking they can beat everybody. Now they have all 4 altars.
Yeah. I mean, at this caliber of gameplay, to take all 4 altars is honestly uncanny.
This is what PX34 looked like when they were fighting 94 VN.
Wow.
Ninja Obelisk capture, by the way, on the bottom lane for PX34.
That's cute.
I don't see the arc carrier anymore. Maybe my screen's just...
It's still there.
There
I'm
it is.
seeing
Okay,
it.
just pop back up
Yeah.
again. So
Please.
I don't know if maybe some city rallies
Oh my
with about
God,
15
please.
troops.
This
That
is what
would
I
be what
want
they
to
need to
happen,
do.
Dragothian.
That would be what PX34
I
needs
want
to do.
nobody to notice the obelisk turned red. I want red to teleport over, take out the arc carrier, score the arc in their own city.
Oh my
That's what I
goodness.
want
That
right
would
now.
be crazy. That'd be
That's
very
what
crazy.
I want.
That'd be a
Minute
huge ball
19,
drop.
nobody's doing anything about it. This is what I want in life, Dragothian.
I
Don't
blame you.
deny me. Oh, Blues noticed. Blues noticed.
They're like, wait a minute.
Three marches, 4 marches, 5 marches, now targeting. 6
Here comes
marches, now
Toast
targeting.
With no
They figured it
health
out.
marches.
7 marches, now targeting. 8 marches.
Yeah, it's just a double C in the flag too. It's not gonna lie.
Oh, my dreams
That's
dashed
that hero
away.
double C coming down, coming in hot.
Well, sometimes you got to roll a hard 6. They at least tried to roll the dice there.
Kudos to the arc carrier, just kind of sitting there, just not getting frazzled, just sitting there saying, you know what, my guys are coming, my guys got this. I'm just gonna hang out and make sure that I don't do anything stupid with this thing, because this is a big deal. I don't want to give this away.
Yeah.
So good job to that Takeda-led SM player there for 60 GT for keeping cool under the face of pressure.
Oh my gosh.
PX34 taking some of these structures back. Looks like on my screen, the Sky Altar on the bottom lane is red. Okay, good. So 2 red on the bottom, 2 blue on the top. So some moves are being made, but again, I mean, this is 60 GT's prime strategy. They're like, okay, we're gonna take your stuff, and we don't necessarily want to. Well, we want to keep it, but they're not gonna like commit a whole lot to keep it. But they just know that they disrupted your points for at least 2 or 3 minutes. So not only do you have to take it back from us, but then you have another, 2-minute countdown timer to recapture it, and that's okay by them, because they've already, at that point, once you've recommitted to take that structure back, they've moved those troops somewhere else to take another structure. So they have you whack-a-moling all over the place, and it's really difficult for teams to keep up. And I think that's why it looks like PX34 is so spread out, even though they're really not. They're on their plan. They're very coordinated. It's just that 60 GT makes teams look like they don't know where they're going, because they're controlling the play, and that's what that really looks like.
Man, what this makes me really keenly aware of is the fact that, just when you think, maybe you're in a strong kingdom or you've seen what a strong team looks like, it seems like there's always some other kingdom or team that just one-ups it and is even
Sure.
stronger, is even better, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable, like how many players there are in this game and how many powerful kingdoms and teams there are to play against.
Yeah, the parity in this league is definitely extensive, and I think a lot of that has to do with people building on past experience, building these super teams. Kind of like what you see in, if you're follow American basketball, it's the same idea where before it was more about the whole team as a whole with 5 players plus a bench and all that stuff. Whereas now it's all about having that critical crew together that can basically take over matches. And I think a lot of that has to do, and when I relate that back to Osiris League, it's all about the strategy and knowing what your opponent's going to do before they do it. There's a lot of tape. There's a lot of tape on these teams, so you can really study up on what they're doing from Rise of Kingdoms official page, casting all these teams when they're on their official matches and they're chosen, to all of us as content creators that are sponsored and non-sponsored that are casting all these matches. This is something that you can really view and you can see what they're doing. Like right now, I thought for sure that 60 GT was going to go ahead and capture the arc and go grab another 1 or 2 just to kind of solidify the deal. But no, they're holding it right now, and they've held it for about 12 minutes. It's been almost 12 minutes since they've held this arc. So, I mean, you just never know. Even with all the tape out there, you just never know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I don't know why they would dunk the first one and then hold the second, right? Like immediately capping the first and then going for a slow capture on the second. It seems like you're either trying to delay the number of arcs in the game or you're trying to speed them up. And now they're doing a bit of both? I don't know. That's a weird strategy call.
Yeah, objectively, I'm trying to look at it, through clear eyes as well. And I think that, when you dunk that first arc, I think I even remarked on it. I'm like, when you dunk that arc, you usually are going to dunk it every time because you know that you can just win the middle, and you're just going to win the middle, and that's the game. But 60 GT kind of playing some mind games and saying, okay, we dunked the first one. You guys you're rare and ready to go for that middle. We're going to go ahead and keep the second one, and we're going to hold it, and we're going to push all your structures and take all your structures while you're still thinking in the back of your mind that you're going to be trying to get to the middle with as many people as you can to try and get this thing back under control for your team. So, I mean, not only dominant on the field, but dominant in the mind with 60 GT having those controlling strategies as part of what they're doing. And again, still taking structures on the bottom lane, that Shrine of Life going back down in favor of the blue team. 2 minutes left until this arc spawns. I think, when you asked me earlier what they need to get back into it, and you had kind of gone through a scenario, a big part of that, right, was capturing at least 1 arc, if not 2. And this is going to be the counter to that, right? Keep the arc, take the structures, and what are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do? I mean, I saw a moment ago kind of an unsupported rally from PX34, which feels like a weird tactic to use. I don't know. Also, we saw an Edward Tommy on the field debuffing the rally, which I thought was kind of interesting. A lot of Ramsey's primary running around the field. I'm kind of curious who the secondary commander is. I don't know if you're able to peek that.
Let me see if I can take a peek on which side. I'm not really
Tamaris.
seeing many Ramses, to be honest with you.
What do you think of Ramsey's Tamaris? I've been seeing a lot of that recently. People starting to key into that combo.
Yeah, I mean, they came out together. Well, not together, but they came out as a good pair whenever Ramses came out, and they work really well together. I mean, Ramses having not really a super rage engine-y kind of thing going on with having the attack tree instead of the skill or support tree is a good combo for Tamiris when you want to be stacking up those skill debuffs on your target. I think Artemisia is another great pair for Artemisia. I think you can even start using some non-infantry or non-archer pairs as primary to Artemisia or to Tamiris because of that, being able to extend that skill debuff out as far as possible. Hard push being used by both sides again, by the way, refreshing that. Now with altars all blue. Oh, this is not looking good for PX34. Almost 8,000 points down. with an arc in the bank. 30 seconds, by the way.
You know, it's not in the bank yet. Oh, there it is. All right, now they cashed it in. All right. Yeah, I guess it was in the bank, but the bank could have been robbed if they forgot to, make the deposit.
Yeah, that teller took her union mandated 15, I guess.
They cut that really close.
They did. They really did. So now we're talking not almost over an 11,000 point game here. Ooh, this is looking a little rough for PX34. I'm not sure with 17 minutes left if there's going to be time to come back, especially when you don't have any alters to your name currently. Yeah, that means 14 minutes is probably the earliest you're going to be able to possibly get 150 points per minute generating in your favor. Right now, just to kind of highlight the points per minute, 890 points per minute for 60 GT versus only 290 for PX34 in red. So all phases looking very strong for 60 GT. I'm curious to see how the provisioning goes. You highlighted earlier 9,000 on each side being the number that we needed to be kind of keying in on. I don't think that's going to matter. It's just not going to matter.
No. I mean, so what do you do if you're PX34 with the sort of remainder of the time that you have in this match? What should you be doing?
Well, you should always
if it feels like, win, right? Escape velocity's already been achieved for 60 GT. There's not even a scenario potentially that you could play to win, given that all 4 altars are in the opposing team's hand, right?
Yeah.
What do you do with these 15 minutes?
Well, you never plan for this, right? You never plan to be 11,000, 12, 13,000 down and not have any altars to your name at 15 minutes left with the match. So I don't know if they necessarily discussed this, but I mean, I would just in my personality, I just keep pushing and trying to make it as even as possible. So by the end of it, the points don't look as bad. But I would also be, making sure that everybody's really understanding what's happening right now, really kind of take in what just happened and then where you're at now on the map and what should you be there versus where the plan has you supposed to be at. So maybe take some self-assessment, get everybody understanding, hey, start looking at what you got going on right now and what you did in the past 20 minutes and figure out was what's supposed to happen. Let's keep pushing the structures. Let's keep trying to fine tune our strategy. And maybe next week when we possibly augment this, or if we just do what we normally do, just better, that'll help in the future. Because this is a 3-match finals. This is not the end. PX34 does have a chance to still win the grand finals after this match is over. It's just going to take them 2 straight wins to do so.
Yeah. Man. Wow. What a matchup. Well, I don't quite understand these unsupported rallies that are flying around.
It looks like everybody's going to the middle again for PX34. And, I mean, they obviously have to. It's 5 minutes left. But, I mean...
They didn't even use to the death yet. So...
Yeah, I mean, they've got it.
They've still got the sort of big gun or the bullet in the chamber, right? To pull an arc here, but with the point differential being what it is, even if they get it, it's not going to be enough.
Mm-hmm.
But we did see, by the way, at the start, I was highlighting, although I didn't say anything about it, I sort of took a glance at the fact that both sides have 2 provisioners, it looks like. So I think both sides are probably in an equal spot with provisions.
That's interesting because I usually, for one provisioner, depending on how good they are and how they are set up, I usually see about 3,500 points from provisioning from one person. So they're eking out some even extra points if they're getting to 9,000 with 2. So that's interesting. That's good to know.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, 1 March really caught out of position there. By the way, really interesting that although Guan Leo is kind of a really natural pairing, a lot of these folks, there are a few Guan Leos, but a lot of them seem to be opting for the Guan Alex combo instead. A lot of players are probably pretty hyped to see that because
AoE debuff is very strong. Guan Leo is one of the best tanky marches in the game that does some damage for infantry. The problem becomes when you're in arc, you need maximum skill damage and maximum debuff, and Alex provides that.
All right.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say speed, man. The March speed.
Speed's great too. Absolutely. You're absolutely right
See,
with
look
that.
at
I
this.
always
Here's a
forget about
Leo,
speed.
but then there was a couple Alexes. Like there's an Guan Alex. There's Ethel Trajan. Interesting. Why would they use the Ethel primary as opposed to the Trajan primary? I guess they want the debuff from the Ethel
That doesn't make
applied
sense.
earlier, but wouldn't you want the skill damage buff from the Trajan sooner? I don't know.
I think that March is just a debuff and just a buff. Any
Yeah.
other insight into that is probably folly.
Yeah, okay.
Because
There's
there's no
Guan
wrapping your head
Alex.
around that.
And who is the secondary there? Is that Esong? Artemisia Esong? I mean, I'm sort of just getting a look now at what marches they're bringing, and the reason that I'm doing that is, okay, if, 60 GT is dominating the middle, I want to know why. And a piece of that puzzle is, what marches are they using? Is there some secret sauce? What do they feed their commanders when they're not battling? That's basically what I'm asking here.
It's the
Yeah.
Wheaties.
Man, that has to be one of the greatest advertising campaigns of all
I
time.
knew
It's
that
still
just
got us
immediately
saying
pops
it,
in your
right?
mind, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's a good thing to be looking at right now. Again, with 11 minutes left in the match, trying to figure out exactly what went wrong, what went right, and build on that. If you're PX34, they're attacking 60 GT right now while they're still assembling. I think that's a solid thing. They need to get there sooner, and they need to aggress 60 GT away from the temple. With 1 minute 44 seconds left until this thing spawns, you can't just let them slam into you. They've been absolutely wrecking your entire field every time they come anywhere close to you. So I mean, you've got to do something different. That's what they're doing right now. They're doing something different to try and see if this helps to at least try and do some things. To the death
There's
being
to the
used
death.
by PX34. So that should help a little bit, and especially considering they started first, that should definitely help.
Yeah, they might get this arc. I don't know that it matters, but they might just pull off this arc.
Now on the outside of that, you've got the whole map turning blue right behind it. All four altars again blue.
All four altars.
Shrine of Life blue.
No.
Valiant Stand being used, by the way, on that top sky altar for what's supposed to be PX34s, which is now currently 60 GTs. All of those blue marches going back. That's from To the Death, being used heavily by PX34. 45 seconds left until the arc spawns. People coming in from behind, though, and around. So that arc area is not as clean as it was maybe just 20 seconds ago. PX34 players coming in to reinforce, instead of going to that murder ball to help kill more blue marches, are instead having to come to the arc area to try and capture the arc or clear those guys out first instead. But it does look like it's a very red map in the middle. And again, that has a lot to do with probably everything more than just PX34 owning everything there. It was just
Yeah.
everything happening.
They brought everybody to the middle, and they lost basically the entire map to
Yeah.
get this arc.
Yeah. Well, that'll help the score look better.
Definitely a better showing for them in the middle, but it's not enough.
Well, I mean, you got to remember they were taking all the structures. 60 GT being 60 GT was taking all the structures and winning the arc before. So this is a step in the right direction for PX34. They maybe it's going to be harder to get back. Possibly, it's very possible. But right now the arc's still not grabbed because 60 GT was able to snag it for just a second. But that arc carrier going home for its first time without the arc for 60 GT. And now they're carrying the arc back and hopefully trying to grab this thing. There is not going to be another arc in this match. This was the last one.
Yeah.
Again, 60 GT, I think, planning that pretty darn well whenever they were talking about holding that thing for as long as they possibly could, knowing that PX34 would try and grab it with everything they've got, going after the structure game and taking all the altars and all the buildings. Looks very strong. It's very strong.
That's cool. That's undeniably powerful. And look at this. Valiant Stand was used. I mean, they really went all in on holding these buildings.
Yep. Valiant Stand used on that Sky Altar on the top lane by 60 GT, and that was actually during the middle fight when that happened. So this was all planned. It's almost like 60 GT is just sitting there staring at PX34's playbook, and then their strategy was to do everything to counter it 5 minutes before PX34 did their stuff. That's
Drago, can I ask
what this
a
looks
really
like.
silly question?
Sure.
Where's Esong?
You mean I think there's probably a few in there as a secondary, right?
Is there? Have you seen a single Esong?
Yeah, there's one right there at the desert altar. I mean, it's not as prevalent. I would say it's not as prevalent.
Yeah.
But
Like,
all these Artemisias are probably using Nebus, right? A
yeah.
couple. I see there's an Artemisia with a YSG, although it's almost dead.
Yeah, there's
I
like
don't-
maybe a few Esongs. But
yeah, they're
I
mostly
just
going to be behind Artemisia. Yeah.
well, I just wonder because like if these folks have access to everything and they've decided Esong is obsolete, that's some important information to kind of understand, right?
News to me. It's news to me. I know that Nebu is very strong and probably stronger than YSG. When you talk about all the debuffs and the counterattack and the defense and all that stuff, but still, I mean, YSG in Arc is very powerful, and I will say, I mean, I do see now that I'm like looking at all these Archer marches, because
You
you're not
see some
going to see very
Esongs?
many. Yeah, I do see quite a few. I mean, not a lot. Like I see the equal amount of Nebus and YSGs,
Oh, yeah, I see
which is
one
what I would
now.
expect. Yeah, that's what I would expect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would expect. But I mean, at the same time, again,
Yeah,
like
okay, I see him.
you're not going to see with most Arc players, right? You're gonna have some Charles and Richard YSGs out there, right? You're not going to see that in the grand final or even the finals of the normal Osiris League system. So I mean, just the players here just have the top cream of the crop commanders with maxed out everything. So you're not
Yeah.
necessarily.
Well, that's
gonna
why I
see
think it's
those.
interesting to study it, right? Because
Yeah,
they've got everything, and this is what they chose to pair up and bring. And man, if it's not Esong, I mean, I can't imagine a world in which you wouldn't still just invest in Esong, you know? But it's
Yeah.
certainly, I mean, look at the buildings, man. Like every building.
even
is
majority of
blue.
the outposts. Yeah, and PX34 still making taxi rallies to try and get this offensive desert altar away from 60 GT. And I mean, that's just not the play. And I think that maybe that's the problem. I mean, they're just picking the wrong buildings to try and get back. They never really had a solid foot to stand on after the first arc. Everything was scrambling. They were scrambling.
Wow. 5 minutes remaining. So, what can our viewers learn from this matchup? What are some takeaways where we say, okay, like we saw what happened. I want to improve my own lineup for Ark of Osiris based on what we saw. What sorts of things might you take away?
Well, I think it's hard to answer that, Chiskel, because there's so many factors that go into even getting a team of this caliber together. You can't. I know me personally with the team that I play with, I could not use this strategy with that team. It would look like a joke. So the things
Yeah.
that they're doing well, they're doing them well because the players are so good, and they know how to play the game, and they know how this matchup type system will work. So if I put the strategy that 60 GT put together in front of the average Arc player team, or even the average Osiris League, qualifier team, it would look like a mess because half the people would not be able to execute it at the right level. So, I mean, just some key things to maybe start to incorporate into your strategies from what we've seen on this matchup, though. Definitely making sure that you're aggressing at the right time. Timing is everything. We've said it from the very beginning in season 1. Timing is everything. Valiant Stand being used and hard pushed by 60 GT as well while I'm ranting on here. Timing is everything. Going after a structure just to go after it isn't necessarily the best move. You need to be going after it while you're also doing something else all the way across the map so that your opponent is spread out, and then have the next step planned. You can't just, okay, we took this, now what do we do? You need to have that next step already geared up and in motion a minute
that's a good one.
prior. That's a big deal because otherwise you can't keep that momentum up. 60 GT has done a great job of keeping the momentum on their side, controlling the match from start to finish. And that's how they did it. They did it because they were able to be one step ahead the whole time and not just rest on, hey, we got all 4 altars. Awesome, let's go. We got this.
Man, I
Everybody,
feel like they were
high
like
five.
5 steps ahead of me the whole time.
I
was
think
crazy.
That's the reason they're winning everything is because they're 5 steps ahead of everybody.
I will say maybe one takeaway for folks, on top of what you shared, which I think is really helpful, is probably you should use your Ethelfled, huh? I mean, if these guys and gals, if these folks who have access to literally every commander,
Still
and they're
using
saying,
Ethelfled.
I'm going to bring my Ethelfled,
Yeah. Strong.
that's got to be telling, right?
Strong. Yeah. And she's no slouch for one, but she's not hidden at all. Like in the middle fights, in the counter rally fights, in the rally fights, in the swarming fight. I mean, she's everywhere. I mean, and she's everywhere for a reason. She's one of the best debuffers in the game. I just don't know about the Ethelfled Trajan pairings, but I do like the Ethelfled with damage behind it, or Ethelfled with maybe a Constantine or something like that.
Well, I will say, Dragothian, I use Ethel with Trajan, but Trajan primary. But it kind of doesn't.
But flip it. Yeah. Ethelfled primary is what I meant by when I said that.
Ah, got it. Yeah.
Trajan primary, Ethelfled secondary. Yes.
Yeah.
Classic pairing. A minute left, Chisco. I mean, it's hard to cast what's going on right now, just simply because it's the same thing we've seen for the last 59 minutes. Absolute blue domination on the map, although PX34 starting to take their structures back, but obviously well out of the chance to catch back up. With 1 minute left, it's basically effectively a 15,000 point match. Yeah, I mean, heavy dominance by 60GT, doing a great job throwing their weight around on this battlefield, and really looking forward to seeing if they're able to continue that, because I mean, this is the second match where I've seen them really put together a solid performance on this battlefield against JST last week and now against PX34 this week in the grand finals. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, their strength is not a fluke. This is 2 in a row where they are performing and getting wins. Yeah. Yeah, good luck with dealing with them in your realm, Dragothian.
Yeah, thanks, bud.
We're about to see the scoreboard in a moment, but if you've been enjoying this live stream, throw a like on the stream and consider subscribing to the official Rise of Kingdoms channel. And also, check out our channels, Dragothian and my own, linked in the description of this video. Let's get a look at the scoreboard and see what we've got here. The tail end of things, the MVP in blue, 157,000 individual score from Kingdom 1960 in blue, and 60GT the victor by about 17,000 points. They got 2 arcs, and the red team also got 1 arc, but look at that occupation score. That is a big differential in the occupation score. Provision score actually pretty low for both sides, isn't it?
Yeah, I was surprised.
Like shockingly low.
Yeah,
astonishingly low for being a grand finals match, right?
They wanted to be about their damage. They did not want to be about their farming. So kudos to both teams.
Well,
wow.
I mean, on that topic for a second, I guess when you have like every March at your disposal and you don't have to worry about equipment.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily need to gather as much, perhaps.
You just brought up a very good point. No equipment. That means no gathering equipment, which is a big part of provisioning, a huge part of provisioning. Oh. That's a great point.
Yeah, interesting.
Because that's not something that you're fighting against. That's literally the game limiting your speed of gathering. So, I mean, that could definitely be a big part of why they transitioned those provisioning players that would have maybe had some marches out provisioning over to fighting instead. That makes total sense. If I was the arc planner and I, didn't see this match, I would definitely be planning on that, because I wouldn't have thought about that until I just saw those scores and everything clicked together. So well done to both teams. Again, guys, throw in the chat, GG to everybody on this thing. We're on the finals. In 60GT, obviously winning in solid fashion, a far cry from last week's point differential of 700 points. This one's more in the 17,000 range. So good job to 60GT. PX34 has got some work to do, but we've got 2 more matches, Chisco, and I'm looking forward to seeing those and casting them with you right here on the Rise of Kingdoms channel. Yeah, let's jump back into the caster's booth and talk about the upcoming schedule real quick, shall we? Let's do it. Okay, here we are,
back in the caster's booth and getting a look at the schedule. Next week, we've got another match at 15 UTC, the 1st of August. Man, can you believe it's already August?
That's my birthday.
Is it your birthday?
It is my birthday.
Oh my goodness. Well, happy birthday in advance. We'll be casting Arc, or maybe I'll be solo casting, depending on what you're up to.
I'll be here with bells on. Come on.
There we go. PX34 has 6 days, 22 hours, 56 minutes, and 50 seconds to figure out how they're going to revise that strategy to make a comeback. And you may recall from the last Grand Finals that, if I remember correctly, right, one team won, the other team made a huge comeback, and then it was knotted up, right? It was a 1-1. So it could be that we see a comeback here from PX34. Don't write them off yet. That'd be a huge mistake because, again, everybody's got the same building blocks to work with in terms of the commanders that are at their disposal. And I think PX34 is just going to go back to the drawing board and come swinging with something brand new. So if you want to see that, make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Throw a like on the stream if you've had a great time today. We'll be back to cast that match for you in the 6 days, 22 hours, 55 minutes, and 50 seconds. And we look forward to seeing you there. Dragothian, any final thoughts before we close this out?
Really looking forward to seeing how PX34 bounces back next week. Obviously 60 GT with a dominating performance today. Really looking forward to seeing both of these teams match it up on round 2 of the final round of the grand finals here. Always a pleasure, Jiskel, casting with you, and looking forward to seeing you next week.
Awesome. Dragothian, a pleasure. And to the audience, a pleasure hanging out with you as well. I've enjoyed watching you in the chat. Oh my gosh, you've all had a lot to say. We'll see you in a week. And until then, you have fun smashing the kingdom, and good luck in your Arc of Osiris matches and preparations. Congratulations again to 60 GT, and good luck next week to both teams. We'll see you there.